Hafa Day. Welcome to everyone. We are here for a very special presentation today. It's resolution number 18-37 COR, and this is to recognize today, January 27, as National Downwinders Day of Remembrance for all Americans who worked and lived downwind from nuclear testing sites and were adversely affected by radiation exposure, and to commend the Pacific Association of Radiation Survivors for persevering in their support and advocacy for those afflicted with cancers on Guam, and to include the people of Guam for RECA compensation. I'm here very honored to be with my fellow senators, our Legislative Secretary, Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Roy Quinata, Senator Sabina Perez, Senator Chris Barnett. Thank you, senators, for being here. This resolution is sponsored by them and all of the senators. And we're also very honored to be here today with PARS, the Pacific Association of Radiation Survivors, led by Mr. Robert Celestial for many years now, and with their very esteemed members. And so by this resolution, we're recognizing the National Day of Remembrance for Americans who worked and lived downwind from nuclear testing sites, and we're also commending PARS for their work. Because in addition to recognizing this day, so we recognize and we remember and we do different activities so that the community can be reminded of what occurred, the sacrifices that these people have made who have been exposed, including the people of Guam. They've been exposed from downwind, from nuclear testing and the downwind effects. And this has happened across the nation. It has resulted in deaths and illnesses, cancers, leukemia, many types of illnesses. And some of these people have been honored by being compensated, being remembered, being included in congressional actions that allow them to seek health care, to obtain health care, and to early screening, and so that they can combat the illnesses that it has been proven that the downwind of these testing results in. And so PARS is here because that is what they have done for Guam. They have advocated that Guam be included in this congressional legislation, this congressional law, the United States laws that take care of downwinders. Because PARS, and particularly Mr. Robert Celestial, has done the work and worked together with Congress and the National Academies of Science to show that Guam was downwind of Pacific testing for many years. And so those people living on Guam who have suffered from cancer may have, that cancer may have been the result of being exposed during those periods, during the testing. So I'm going to, they also have found, in addition to the studies showing the results of radiation, they found that the United States has studied those results too late, right? Not promptly and quite late. And so they're not exact sometimes and hard to show after decades of exposure. And so those that have borne the heaviest burden of these activities, they have found to be people of color, indigenous communities, women and children, and those living in poor rural communities across the nation. And that is why they designated this day, January 27, to remember those people who have made that great sacrifice. So now I'm going to just read parts from this, and this again is a day that's remembered across the nation. And so we are probably leading the nation here today in recognizing January 27. It began in 2011 when the nation decided that they were going to make this a National Day of Remembrance. And this is based on, whereas In the early 1940s, the United States government authorized the Manhattan Project, a top-secret testing and development program. In July 1945, the first atomic bomb successfully exploded at the Trinity testing site, instituting the beginning of the nuclear era. After embarking into World War II, the United States government commissioned the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to build considerable quantities of plants, laboratories, and testing sites. The United States government expanded testing in the South Pacific and failed to warn of the dangers of exposure to radiation, especially to surrounding areas and those downwind. Thousands of Pacific Islanders, including the people of Guam, were affected by the detonation of nuclear bombs. The National Research Council concluded that Guam, quote, Guam received measurable radiation from atmospheric testing in the Pacific, unquote. And the residents of Guam during that time period were recommended to be included in the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, or RECA, as downwinders. The Pacific Association for Radiation Survivors, or PARS, has advocated for many years to extend and expand RECA to include Guam survivors who were harmed by U.S. nuclear testing as downwinders under RECA. Y Legislature in Guam has always supported the inclusion of Guam in these congressional bills, and we are hoping for passage of one this term with the advocacy of PARS and with our fellow senators and all of Guam. We've been united in this pursuit. We are hoping for amendments to the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act to include Guam as a downwinder of the U.S. Pacific test sites, to extend the fund claims period, which expires in 2020, what's the year?
2023.
2023.
Yes, next year in July.
And to extend the fund claims period and to improve compensation and benefits. So the proposals that have been in Congress recently have really adjusted the compensation to take care of the change in the economy since the decades ago that RECA was originally passed. And Imina 37 na legislature in Guam and the people of Guam convey our lasting gratitude for PAR's commitment and dedication to ensuring that our people receive equitable compensation for the injustice and suffering they endured during times of war, during times of nuclear testing. And now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Rules of Imina 37 na legislature in Guam does hereby, on behalf of the people of Guam, recognize January 27, 2023 as National Downwinders Day of Remembrance for all Americans who worked and lived downwind from nuclear testing sites and were adversely affected by radiation exposure, and to commend the Pacific Association of Radiation Survivors for persevering in their support and advocacy for those afflicted with cancers on Guam, and to include the people of Guam for RECA compensation. So we want to, on behalf of myself, my colleagues who are here, and all the people of Guam, recognize this day and the sacrifice that has been made by the people of Guam and all of those downwind across the nation. And to thank you, Mr. Celestial and PARS, all of you, for your advocacy. Advocacy is the #1 way to honor these people, is to get them included in that recognition package, RECA, by Congress. So Sizus Maasi for all your efforts. Thank you.
I want to thank all the members that showed up today and those that are at home. I want to thank the speaker and all the good senators that the fight goes on. The bills will be introduced hopefully in the end of this month or in March. I just had a meeting with the frontline community, and that we are praying that they'll extend it for another 19 years. We pray that this will be the year to get our bills passed. It expires in next year in July, and that we are going to work even harder this year. And I just had a meeting with one of my frontline community from the Navajo Nation this morning, Phil Harrison, and he had a meeting with the new president, Boo Nygren, and he had a very good meeting with him this morning, and that he is going to fight even harder for the inclusion of the RECA bills. And I know that the senators here and our members and the speaker and our government leaders will continue to fight for us. And we thank you, and God bless.
I just want to take a little time to allow my fellow colleagues to say a few words, because this has really been a long-standing effort, and I'm sad that our vice speaker's not here, because she has also been a leader in this effort to support Mr. Celestial and PARS in their advocacy. And it's not an easy effort, because to include Guam in the RECA bill will cost additional money, because there's a compensation that goes with that. And there's not a clear unison across the nation as to which particular jurisdiction should be included or not. And so it's a very, I think, commendatory work that has been done, that Guam has actually been included in many bills in at least the past 3 terms since I've become a senator. Guam has been included in those bills, and that is strictly because of the work of Mr. Celestial, because he meets with these other downwinders across the nation. He meets with the senators. I was there with him at one point, witnessing him speaking to senators and representatives in Congress. And we are very lucky because, while many of us on Guam lived through those periods of testing and may have been exposed downwind, Mr. Celestial was also exposed as a part of the cleanup, the military that was sent to clean up the site of the testing, so that he was able to tell them from his personal experience about what he suffered there. And I hope he doesn't mind if I just share this, but this is the kind of impact that this personal advocacy makes. I was in the room when he was speaking with one of the senators, and they asked him a lot of details about it. And he said, well, and he lifted up his pants leg to show, some of the results of illnesses that they have suffered due to this type of exposure. And so we know that the cancer rates on Guam, and Ms. Kathy can attest to this, and PARS has been very good about showing the cancer rates on Guam and the high cancer rates on Guam that affect all of our families. And so these efforts are going to bring us not just compensation for those who have cancer, but health care that is sorely needed. So, Senator Shelton?
Thank you very much, Speaker, for allowing us to be a part of this resolution and allowing us to recognize this day with you, PARS, and the rest of your colleagues throughout the nation who are also fighting for this justice for downwinders. And I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Celestial maybe nearly a decade ago when I worked for the former delegate, and I realized then the passion that he had for this work, and he was advocating many years prior to that. And so you've all come a long way, and you've encouraged us to continue fighting with you. And so we thank you for your advocacy, your work. I know it's many late nights and early mornings with the time difference, and you're on Zoom all the time with these folks to keep us up to date and keep tracking these bills. And so as the legislature, we stand behind you any way that we can, committing ourselves to continue this fight with you, united as Guam to see this equity and justice for our people as well. So, Seduas Masi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to say thank you to the PARS community and the leadership of Mr. Celestial. It's been a long-standing issue, I guess, for all of us who've been facing cancer. I actually attended one of the, actually a couple of the PARS meetings at the airport when you guys used to have your meetings there. And I guess the situation still are long-standing issues that we need to address. And I stand by you guys on all of the issues. And we look forward to working with you to address these and make sure that the next generation doesn't face the same challenges, and that we can actually finally have justice and health care for our people and the next generation. Thank you again for all you guys' hard work.
Just want to thank you, Speaker, for having this opportunity to recognize the long advocacy by Mr. Celestial and the PARS group. if I could just take a minute to basically share this story. When I first met Robert Celestial back in 2005, it was a time when Bert Schreiber came to Guam, and he was instrumental in having us being recognized as downwinders. And the story about Bert Schreiber, he was serving on Guam, I believe in the 1950s, when Operation Bravo was being conducted in the Marshall Islands, and they were detonating nuclear bombs that were 12 times the power of Hiroshima. And so the winds took the fallout to Guam. And at the time, Bert Schreiber, his job was to test radiation on a daily basis. And so on the day of Operation Bravo, the Geiger counter went off, and he thought that Guam was being attacked by Russians, because at the time it was the Cold War. And so he went to his superiors, and the superiors told him, don't say anything. And so he felt very guilty, because he could have warned many of the people on the island about the contamination that they were being exposed to from the water that they were drinking, the air that they were breathing. And so it took many, many years afterwards for him to come back and to provide the testimony, as well as he came back in 2005 to apologize to the people of Guam, that he couldn't do anything to protect and to warn them of the dangers that they were being exposed to. And so it takes many people on this journey. So in 1991 was when RECA was passed by the first President Bush, and that was a Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. And so many people were exposed to contamination by serving. There were many tests that were done on people serving in the military. And so RECA recognized the responsibility of the U.S. government to get basically to ensure that they got the care that they need as downwinders, as on-site participants. And so Guam was recognized thanks to the work of Robert Celestial and the people of PARS. They were recognized as on-site participants, but we still have yet to be acknowledged as downwinders, even though the evidence is there. And so I do, as a senator, and many senators here are willing to, we're here to support all the efforts that you have done on your own dime, many on your own dime, and as part of your passion project. And I think it's a miracle that he stands here today. Many of the original PARS founders are not here to really push for this. And so we really thank Robert Celestial and all of you in PARS. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for remembering, and thank you for seeking justice. I think it's important that our people get this recognition as other people have. Situas Masi.
I just want to, well, first of all, thank you, Madam Speaker, and my colleagues, but I want to recognize PARS and especially Mr. Celestial. I always joke with him that, many years ago when he was making the rounds talking about, being downwind, I've been talking about Agent Orange as well. People said he was crazy. They said he was cuckoo. They said it was a conspiracy. Not only was it not a conspiracy, but it is now in 2022, thanks to the efforts of PARS and Mr. Celestial, accepted as rock solid fact what was done, not just to the people of Guam, but the people of our region, people in the continental United States as well. And I also agree with Senator Sabina that we're very fortunate, Robert, that you're here today, that the good Lord has blessed you with health enough to see this through to where you are, and where hopefully we can all get together. I'm very proud to be part of this legislature. I know that the legislature has been very supportive of your efforts and the efforts of PARS. I would just pray that we get that support from the Office of the Governor, the Office of the Delegate, so that, we can really help you push this through to the finish line, so that we can finally see not just the compensation and the health care, but true justice that we deserve as a people, as an island, and as a region, as a part of the world that is so often not just overlooked, but really not seen it all in many cases. And so I'm just, I've always admired you, the work you've done. I am a little bit disappointed that you didn't run for senator. I know I tried my hardest, but I think you're exactly where you need to be, and you've been an inspiration to not just myself, but looking across this room, I think everyone in here is looking up to you and the organization that you lead and the efforts that you're doing up till today. And I just pray that God continues to. I don't know where you get the strength to wake up at 2 in the morning, and you went on the link many times. You've been awake way longer than me in the day, and so I just hope that God continues to bless you and your organization to see this work through. And I can't really express just how grateful and blessed we are to have you pushing this agenda that a lot of our elected leaders never found the time to push. So again, you do it on your own dime, and it's very inspiring that a group like PARS, which is hundreds strong, to this day is still pushing for this cause, and we're really just grateful that you guys are doing a lot of the heavy lifting that we can hopefully help you take this across the finish line. So God bless Robert Celestial, and God bless PARS, and God bless Guam. Thank you.
I could recognize all of them. Yeah. Yes. Praise God. I want to recognize my members, Mary Cruz, the Torres family, Iglesias, Carrie, been around for decades, our Vice President, Kathy Castro, Rivera Castro, and my good friend, Mr. LaGuatnia. Benita and Fred has just had surgery in his hand, and my good friend again, Mr. Kenya. And it's true. Since we started in 2001, we've lost a lot of our members. And by the grace of God, we're still here. And I really believe we'll get this bill passed this year with the help of everyone. So thank you very much again, Speaker and Senators. And we'll just continue on. Amen.
Thank you. Viva PARS! Viva! Justice for Guam. Si Dios masi to all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much.